New to casinos and not sure what to play? Well, try blackjack first. It has a lower house advantage compared to other table games, making it especially player-friendly. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
One that really sticks out to me the most, George, and he's having a fantastic season, is James Wood of the Washington Nationals. I mean, yes, Cal Raleigh's fantastic. Don't get me wrong. He's like a candidate for MVP of the American League. But every time I look up, George, James Wood is either getting 5 hits or being walked 4 times in a game. What a season for this guy.
And he's so young. What, is he, 22? So what a future this kid has ahead of him.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
They're still trying to throw Dalton Knecht's name in trades, and I don't even know if he's viewed as a positive asset still.
And that's a crazy thing. Dalton Knecht, if you look at FanDuel, Dalton Knecht 20-plus points at plus 120. He's giving you no indication that he's that right there. I mean, Kevin, I would be more likely if we knew we were going to get the minutes. Bronny James, 10-plus points at plus 118.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
You don't want a big that's camped out under the basket and clogging the lane. He provides a lot of really good defense, a lot of three-point shooting, and again, younger than Brook Lopez. It is a good match. I just don't think it moves the needle, but as we talked about to open the show, when Giannis Antetokounmpo was saying, we're not just going to sit here this year and say, oh, Dame's down, let's just take a pause year because I'd rather go try to chase a championship. So at least they're being honest and saying, we're going to make this team better.
The Early Line, only on Sports.
Good morning. Welcome to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. It's time for a little home run derby tonight. The first half of the Major League Baseball comes to a close. We'll tell you who could potentially win this evening. We've got some great guests here on the show as well. We'll break it all down for you and also give you the latest results at Wimbledon. Also, college football is around the corner. Bill Bender joins us on the show, and also Adam Caplan for the latest in the National Football League with rookies reporting to training camp this week. That and a whole lot more on this edition of the show. So let's get started. We'll start off with a big match on the soccer pitch. How about a big upset too? Chelsea beats PSG 3-0 as a plus 410 money line underdog. Cole Palmer had 2 goals and an assist to lead Chelsea in the victory. They win the Club World Cup. They also won it back in 2021. Very rare in a final of this magnitude. You could have a plus 400 end up coming through, but indeed that's what happened with Chelsea on Sunday. Meanwhile, at Wimbledon, Jannik Sinner gets his revenge on number 2 Carlos Alcaraz. What a fantastic match it was at the French Open. This time around, Sinner dominated, winning the 3 consecutive sets, 2, 3, and 4, 6-4, 6-4, 6-4. Sinner closes a slight favorite. Alcaraz did not end up having his best day on the court. And for Sinner, he now holds 3 of the 4 Grand Slams, 1 point away from holding all 4. Here's Sinner after the big win.
Yeah, I'm very emotional, no, even if I don't cry, but it feels emotional because only me and the people who are close to me know exactly what we have been through on and off the court, and it has been everything except easy. We've tried to push, every practice session. Even I was struggling at times, mentally, maybe even more in practice sessions, because I feel like when I play the match, I can switch off and then just play, and I believe that it's helped me a lot. And yeah, but to share this moment with my family here, my whole family here, it's the most amazing thing what could have happened to me, and in Paris was only my mom, and it was still just an amazing feeling, and here my dad and my brother and my mom too, and the whole team, not only from my coach's perspective, but everyone who works for me has been here, and it has been an amazing feeling.
On Saturday, not a lot of drama on the women's side. Iga Swiatek with a 6-0, 6-0 victory over number 13, Amanda Anisimova. She ends up taking the match in just 57 minutes. They call it a double bagel, I guess, when it's 6-0, 6-0. Swiatek, 6-time Grand Slam champion. And, of course, Anisimova was a huge underdog going into this one. Here's Swiatek after dismantling her opponent so quickly.
Well, I don't know what's ahead of me, obviously, so hard to say. But for sure, it's a lot, especially after a season with a lot of ups and downs, and a lot of expectations from the outside that I didn't really match. Winning Wimbledon, it's something that is just surreal, and I feel like tennis keeps surprising me, and I keep surprising myself, and I'm really happy with the whole process, how it looked like, from the first day we stepped on a grass court. And yeah, I feel like we did everything, for it to go in that direction, without expecting it, just working really hard. So it means a lot, and it gives me a lot of experience, and I don't even know, I'm just happy.
Last night was the Major League Baseball first-year player draft. First overall pick, a bit of a surprise. Eli Willits, infielder from Fort Cobb Broxton High School in Oklahoma, ends up going with the number 1 overall pick in the draft. Number 2 was Tyler Bremner from UC Santa Barbara. Cade Anderson from LSU was 3. Ethan Holiday, who some had as the number 1 pick overall, ended up going 4 to the Colorado Rockies. And the Cardinals took Liam Doyle at number 5. Meanwhile, in baseball action, wrapping up the first half, Dodgers sure needed a win. They got one yesterday, 3-2 in the 11th inning. They beat the Giants by a final. They scored 3 runs and beat the Giants by a final of 5-2 in 11, Christopher Sanchez, another strong start. A lot of controversy with Sanchez not making the All-Star team. Apparently, because he pitched yesterday, he would have not been eligible, but the Phillies reportedly are picking up that bonus that he would have gotten to play in the All-Star game as they win 2-1. Philadelphia, of course, gets the victory. Rob Thompson afterwards. There is some disappointment with his pitcher not pitching in the All-Star game, but it seems like Phillies are doing the right thing.
I'm just so proud of him from where he started and where he's at right now. Not just stuff, but command, poise, and composure. He gets to the first inning there, and when we first had him, he's not getting through that first inning. It might affect the rest of his innings. Now he's learned to slow the game down, be able to handle adversity and keep grinding and keep pitching.
If there was ever a team that needed an all-star break, it's the New York Mets. It's been a tough month for them. Nick Lofton with a walk-off single. Royals beat the Mets 3-2. Carlos Mendoza, manager of the Mets, seems to be answering the same questions every day. What's going on? When's it going to turn around?
How much tougher is it in the second half to try and manage innings loads and pitch counts and that kind of thing with your starting rotation when you're in a playoff push?
It's fun. It's part of where we at roster-wise. With some of the guys coming into the season, we knew at this point, when we're making a push the last 2.5 months here that we got coming up. But we feel like we're equipped for it. The guys are handling well, and we will continue to rely on the performance science group. We continue to get the feedback from the players, and as a group, as an organization, we'll continue to put guys in good position. Yeah.
If there was ever a team that did not need an all-star break, there's no question that is the Boston Red Sox. They win their 10th game in a row over the Tampa Bay Rays, 4-1, as Boston is surging back into the playoff picture. We'll see what makes of their second half. Appears they could be buyers. Alex Cora had some strong, positive words to say about his club as they take a break.
Like I've been saying, we've been playing well. And we're going to go as far as we can if we pitch. And the kid today, that was electric. 97, 98 with the sinker, the cutter. Used the changeup well. He's grown so much, in the last three years, and now he's striking people out, controlling the running game. It was good. It was good to see, the ovation too. I told him, hey, be ready, enjoy it. He didn't want to come out of the game, but we needed to there. But for the fans to give him that ovation, it means a lot.
Shota Imanaga has done well since coming back off the injured list for the Cubs. Pitches 7 innings, 1 run. The Cubs beat the Yankees by a final of 4-1 as they head into the break. Cubs, one of the best teams in the National League this season. Yankees, on the flip side, also could be looking forward to a break. Here's Giancarlo Stanton on the performance.
Days where you guys are having a tough time against a good starting pitcher for them. What made Imanaga so challenging?
Good sequencing, placement as well. He was using all sides of the plate, and all 3 pitches were working. So, yeah.
How would you summarize what the team's been able to do up to this point?
Good points and bad points. Like anything, you sit and make the adjustments for the second half and try to just improve and get better into the second half and the postseason.
Mariners go to Detroit and sweep the Tigers 8-4, the final in that game yesterday. And over on the PGA Tour, Chris Gotterup wins the Scottish Open 15 under par, and he was 100-1 to win that championship on Sunday. Speaking of which, British Open on deck coming this week. We'll have a ton of preview for you coming up later in our week. Bill Bender joins us from Sporting News with the latest in college football as we're about a month away from kickoff.
They're still trying to throw Dalton Knecht's name in trades, and I don't even know if he's viewed as a positive asset still.
And that's a crazy thing. Dalton Knecht, if you look at FanDuel, Dalton Knecht 20-plus points at plus 120. He's giving you no indication that he's that right there. I mean, Kevin, I would be more likely if we knew we were going to get the minutes. Bronny James, 10-plus points at plus 118.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
I mean, Houston beat the snot out of the Dodgers, 18-1. And this is what happens here. Oral Hershiser doing the game for the Dodgers brings up the cheating scandal, going, oh, they must know the science because they're hitting curveballs that they know it's coming. It's like, oh, boy, does he really want to go down that rabbit hole again here? I think this is one of those nights where they got destroyed. Yeah, hey, it happens in baseball here. But just found that an interesting comment by Oral Hershiser. Start bringing up the cheating scandal again.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
You have a head coach in Jim Harbaugh that's proven he will cheat to win. He will win at the biggest stage and doesn't give a damn who cares or finds out, and he'll just move on. That's what I love about a coach. That's the type of coach that I want. Win at all costs. Now, also, at all costs means, like, how are we building this team? Because I actually thought Harbaugh would come in and say, okay, let me just see what the players on the roster is. We'll weed them out after a year, but there's a lot of talent. He built that foundation last year and still made the playoffs.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Of an interesting couple of weeks in California, if you recall, just I think it was 2 weeks ago, language was inserted into a bill that would outlaw or ban sweepstakes casinos and sports betting, which of course we've seen lots of that happen this year. So California is an interesting market because, as you've said, there is no legal online casino, there is no legal online sports betting.
NewsWire. Only on SportsGrid.
College football right around the corner. In fact, a little bit over a month. Bill Bender is getting ready with all of the media days going on right now. We'll touch on some SEC action, no doubt. Bill, great to have you back here on NewsWire. The excitement is getting there a little bit. I feel like, once the All-Star break sort of is out of the way and the training camps open, the NFL, we focus over to college. And, I know we touched on this a little bit last week, but the 23rd is week 0 of college football, and definitely feels like there's a couple of good matchups on the board.
Yeah, beginning with Kansas State, Iowa State. I mean, that's a huge early season game between two Big 12 favorites and experienced quarterbacks in Avery Johnson and Rocco Becht. So I like this trend of putting an early season, Power 4 game on in Dublin. Allows other, fan bases to experience that trip. It's not just Notre Dame. And the winner of that game is going to set the tone in the Big 12 race in a lot of ways, because they're going to have 4 or 5 teams ranked in that preseason pool, so that if you score that first big win, Farmageddon in Dublin of all places, I think you're going to have a leg up on that Big 12 race. And I would love, if you're going to bet on one of those teams, wait till after that game.
Yeah, definitely so. Can't wait to get that all started. Just a few weeks away. Now, we're a little bit further away from some of the big SEC matchups, and it's, kind of been a tale of two teams over the last several years. Alabama, Georgia sort of interchanging, winning, and those coaching changes definitely changed with Kalen DeBoer taking over in Alabama. Not the season that they necessarily wanted to have last year. Georgia ends up winning the SEC. But I think what's more interesting this year, Bill, is taking a look at the favorite to win the SEC this year. It is the Texas Longhorns, and that's a little surprising considering where we've been the last few years. Texas in their first year last year, pretty impressive. We know their quarterback. Everyone's talked about that. Should Texas be a favorite over Georgia, Alabama, and LSU?
It's interesting, and I'm really going to be interested to see the SEC preseason poll when it comes out later this week. What's the gap? I do think Texas will be favored, but when you look at those ads and the difference between 280 and 290, you ask yourself a question. Didn't Georgia win this game both times last year? They did beat Texas, and they did win the SEC championship. And those two schools combined to send 25 players to the 25 NFL draft. Now, so you're basing it on what? Is it the Arch Manning hype? Is it the guys that they have at the skill positions? Is it the defense? I mean, Georgia has a lot coming back too. And the interesting thing with Georgia, Alabama, and Texas, all of that's going to be dictated by which first-year starter plays the best. We all know Arch Manning, but Gunnar Stockton and Ty Simpson will have something to say about that.
Yeah, would agree. And it's interesting. My Gators aren't even listed there. I thought they were supposed to be a little bit better this year. I think they're like 20-1. Okay, so Alabama wins 9 games, and in a normal world, that's okay, but not in Tuscaloosa. That's like a down year for them. They ended up losing the ReliaQuest Bowl. Their win total this year is a little bit higher than what it was last year. Actually, I think it was the same, 9.5 going into this year, if I'm not mistaken. So Kalen DeBoer definitely with his work cut out for him. He's really following a legend. It's sort of unfair, I think, to some degree, to ask him to do what Nick Saban did, which is win every single year. But do you think that there's a possibility that we could be looking at DeBoer wondering if he's the long-term answer at coach for the Tide?
Well, every year will be pivotal. Each year, because once you get to year 3, and if you're losing 4 games a year, we've seen this with Zook at Florida. You remember that. We've seen it with other coaches over the years. When you're that guy that follows the guy, it can be so tough. All that said, I'm starting to feel like Alabama, I can't believe I'm saying this, Craig, is a sleeper. 4th easiest schedule in the SEC this year. Ryan Williams is back. I think the friendly, these early season games against Florida State and Wisconsin, that is friendly for Alabama, and Kalen DeBoer can learn from the lessons of year 1. You can't lose to Vanderbilt. You got to be better on the road than they were last year. But they've got a little bit of sleeper appeal to me in the SEC race and maybe the college football playoff race if Ty Simpson, who waited his turn, is that guy at quarterback.
Now, as far as the Heisman is concerned, the favorite right now is Arch Manning, and I understand it because of the name. Bill, I saw him play a little for Texas last year. I'm not doubting it. I'm not saying that he's not better than Quinn Ewers, and I'm not saying that he can't win it, but I don't know. Like, I feel like there's really nothing on the resume that says like huge signature win or very big play that I remember from, a couple of years ago or last year. So I'm guessing I'm probably going to pick somebody else to win the Heisman until I really feel like I've seen enough.
Well, an SEC quarterback easily could win the Heisman with the depth. The problem is, which one? Is it Arch Manning? Does he deliver on this hype in year 1? And I do think if I had to bet, I would say I think Arch Manning plays 2 years at Texas, and we see the best of him next year. Everything you've said, the athletic ability, the way to throw the ball down the field, it's all there, but we might have to wait a year to see it. So you have Garrett Nussmeier, and you have DJ Lagway, and you have Lenora Sellers, these quarterbacks that there's still a little bit of unknowns, but if Lagway can lead a Florida playoff run, he'll be in the mix. Lenora Sellers will have Garrett Nussmeier, 4,000-yard passer. So there are a lot of intriguing candidates, but I think the Heisman race is pretty open. And if I'm looking at all those quarterbacks and I can't separate them, if I'm betting this early, I'd probably throw a couple bucks on Jeremiah Smith, knowing that he's going to have a huge year at Ohio State.
Yeah. By the way, one note from over the weekend. Did I see that BYU's quarterback ended up transferring? That's kind of late in the game, no?
Well, there was a legal matter there involved as well. So I think that changes the odds for them in the Big 12 with Jake Retzlaff, and they're going to have to switch. They did get a transfer in the offseason, so we'll see how that works. So there is depth in that room, but it will certainly impact the BYU Cougars' Big 12 championship hopes.
Does Retzlaff get to play this year, Bill? How does that work?
That we're going to find out. I mean, it's a little touchy with that. So whether it's at BYU or somewhere else, I mean, we're late in the game on that. It's kind of unprecedented, and we'll have to wait and see if he can find a home this late in the season.
All right, real quick, Bill, you said Alabama is a possible sleeper, which is crazy. Any other sleepers before we let you go here today?
Well, your Gators. If DJ Lagwed comes through and that defense, and they can get through that tough schedule, a 9-3 Florida team, Craig, would deserve to be in the college football playoff, in my opinion, but they got to go out and do it.
Understood. Bill, thanks again. We'll catch up next week. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me on.
Coming up next, our SportsGrid insider Adam Caplan joins us. NFL training camp set to open all over the country this week. What can we expect with a lot of these holdouts in the second round? A lot of these rookie picks have not reported to camp. We'll find out that and a whole lot more. Go into some back discussion. You're watching NewsWire on SportsGrid. We'll be right back.
They're still trying to throw Dalton Knecht's name in trades, and I don't even know if he's viewed as a positive asset still.
And that's a crazy thing. Dalton Knecht, if you look at FanDuel, Dalton Knecht 20-plus points at plus 120. He's giving you no indication that he's that right there. I mean, Kevin, I would be more likely if we knew we were going to get the minutes. Bronny James, 10-plus points at plus 118.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
I mean, Houston beat the snot out of the Dodgers, 18-1. And this is what happens here. Oral Hershiser doing the game for the Dodgers brings up the cheating scandal, going, oh, they must know the science because they're hitting curveballs that they know it's coming. It's like, oh, boy, did you really want to go down that rabbit hole again here? I think this is one of those nights where they got destroyed. Yeah, hey, it happens in baseball here. But just found that an interesting comment by Oral Hershiser. Start bringing up the cheating scandal again.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on SportsGrid.
Dude, you have a head coach in Jim Harbaugh that's proven he will cheat to win. He will win at the biggest stage and doesn't give a damn who cares or finds out, and he'll just move on. That's what I love about a coach. That's the type of coach that I want. Win at all costs. Now, also, at all costs means, like, how are we building this team? Because I actually thought Harbaugh would come in and say, okay, let me just see what the players on the roster is. We'll weed them out after a year, but there's a lot of talent. He built that foundation last year and still made the playoffs.
The Early Line. Only on SportsGrid.
Of an interesting couple of weeks in California. If you recall, just I think it was 2 weeks ago, language was inserted into a bill that would outlaw or ban sweepstakes casinos and sports betting, which of course we've seen lots of that happen this year. So California is an interesting market because, as you've said, there is no legal online casino. There is no legal online sports betting.
NewsWire. Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. NFL training camp set to open all across the country this week. Rookies, in fact, are reporting, although some are not. And I do want to get to that topic here because Adam's got to dive into this whole second round, not rookies signing stuff here. I don't really understand it, but I'll get to that here in a minute. Let's first start off, Adam, with Rite of Passage, which is a 49ers receiver looking for a new contract. Is this 3 years in a row? I got Debo on one, I got Ayuk on another, and now Jawan Jennings on a third. What's going on there?
Yeah, so really, Craig, last year, it started when they drafted Ricky Pearsall, which was a surprise. And Pearsall had his unfortunate off-the-field issue, which through no fault of his own, by the way. But the bottom line is Pearsall was really not a factor until late last season. Ayuk tears his ACL. after getting his contract extended. And Ayuk is owed $27 million total cash this season, so that's a big number. They don't know exactly when Ayuk will be back. Juwan Jennings has kind of come out of nowhere. He's been a great story. His cash number is $7.5 million. He like a greater commitment to him instead of the nickel and diming going season to season. This guy's been a great story development as a number 4 receiver, then number 3. Then he had to start last season. Very productive. And he'd like a greater commitment. And by the way, he's got Drew Rosenhaus, I believe, as his agent. Rosenhaus got Jonnu Smith out of Miami. He got Jonnu Smith a better deal with that trade to Pittsburgh, got a lot more money. And you just follow the money with these situations. You know, in baseball, you follow the money. It's the same situation here. So with the Niners, they have a complex situation because they have to get through who's going to be available. What's Pearsall's role going to be this season? He's got a full offseason now under his belt. They got to get through that. But Juwan Jennings has been a great story of development. They like to make this work, but they have to work through it. And I always tell people, these things come to a head when players start missing training camp practices. Then they really know that the player is serious. So let's see what happens here. But the big story for them is to get Ayuk right physically, get Pearsall going and taking the next step. They're not very deep, by the way, at wide receiver. That's another problem for people who think that they want to wind up trading him. I'd ease up on that one. They don't have the depth right now to be able to do that, but they got to make it right with Jennings here. It's not easy because you got Pearsall, Craig, and you're paying Ayuk $27 million. How do you make it work? But again, with Ayuk's contract, they can get out of it now that not this season, the $27 million is fully guaranteed, but after the season, they can get out of it without owing them anything.
Yeah, and Jennings has filled in nicely every time one of those receivers has been out. It seems like he's come in and by the way, has had some of the bigger games over the season in the NFL. I believe several times, or at least a couple times, having 2 or 3 touchdowns in one game. Before we get to the quarterback stuff, I do want to ask you this because with training camps opening, we're seeing a dynamic play out that I believe we've never seen before, which is pretty much every second round pick in the NFL is like not signing. And, in sort of reading this, trying to understand it, I saw that Houston signed their pick and gave him guaranteed money. And somehow this is causing all the other picks to want money. And so how does this play out with so many players just specifically in this round not showing up for camp?
Yeah, correct. So Jaden Higgins was the one you're talking about. So and I give the Texans credit, they went against the grain. Typically, you don't see second rounders getting the more guaranteed money later in the contract, but they did that, and that sets a precedent. So, of course, every agent in the second round wants it, and that's the holdup. That's the slog, as some people are calling it. It'll eventually break because the agents are not going to want these players to miss time, and that hurts them, obviously. When you're not a first-round pick, you have to really earn your role where it's kind of handed off in the first round. But that's it. It's the guaranteed money as the season as the contract progresses. And the Texans did something that, look, I give the agent credit. That's typically not done, and that obviously does not make clubs happy because once they see it, they know they have to do it. And so far, these clubs have been unwilling to do it.
Yeah, no, they definitely have. There was also, I'm not even talking about anything that you wanted to talk about on the show today, Adam. I'm like, it's just reminding me of everything. So look, a legal issue, we really don't know what's going to happen here, but I was stunned to see the running back on the Browns, Judkins from Ohio State here in my area, get arrested. I don't know if he's out of jail or not, but, certainly the Browns can ill afford to lose any young player going into the season. I know there's a more serious issue probably that we should be talking about here, which is domestic violence, but the NFL is, very, very cognizant of these sort of issues happening. And at this point, I would say it's fair to say that I wonder if he'll start the season with the team.
Well, first of all, he hasn't signed his contract, so that's one thing you have to look at. And you talk about Quinshon Judkins, their second-round pick. But by the way, they're pretty much building the running game around. That's the way they saw. That's why Nick Chubb did not come back. So yeah, that's something to keep an eye on. And what video is there? What could the NFL make of it? And then what happens is if they feel like there's a real issue here, he could go on the special exemption. From the NFL. So you got to keep an eye on this one. It's a big deal, by the way, for the Browns, no question.
Yeah, definitely so. Thanks for pivoting over with me, Adam. Appreciate it. We'll talk next week.
you're going to have the suck uniforms the entire season, but 3 games will give you with the best uniform. Those are the issues I have. The powder blues out for the Chargers. That should be every game. The Miami Dolphins old uniforms that they throw it back to, that should be your uniform, not the trash you wear now. The Patriots, you ever see them throw back with the little football player in the helmet? It is beautiful, but let's keep the trash uniform.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Things you have to look at is what the team has the following day, especially when it comes to bullpen usage. You know, a lot of the things I like to attack is you see these extra inning games, these games get drawn out, these bullpens get worn, or if someone gets shelled the first 3 innings and they got to go to the pen, early, that's a good spot to kind of hop in the middle of the next game. You got a tired bullpen, right? You try and take advantage there, maybe with an over, maybe with the money line. You're getting plus money on a favorite at that point.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Piece of an interesting couple of weeks in California, if you recall, I think it was 2 weeks ago, language was inserted into a bill that would outlaw or ban sweepstakes casinos and sports betting, which of course we've seen lots of that happen this year. So California is an interesting market because, as you've said, there is no legal online casino. There is no legal online sports betting.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Like Montreal, has a new coach. Like I might be the new coach in Montreal in 2 weeks. Like they have a new coach all the time, and they always have, oh yeah, we're playing a new system. They're like, they have a bunch of 20-year-old players and kids on the pitch. Anyone that's good, they sell and they trade for money all the time. Like it's a real disaster. But they hit a new low tonight, getting eliminated by the Forge.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire. Pat Evans is with us from Legal Sports Report to dive into the latest topics surrounding sports betting, which you can read about over at LegalSportsReport.com. Pat, great to see you. Great to have you back here on the show. All right, let's start off with casino gaming, a hot topic for the year. Some states saying yes, some states saying no. Maryland is in a limbo state, I guess, fair to say.
No, we're going to Maine, Craig. I think you screwed that up.
My bad.
Not to call you out.
Maine, my bad.
But yeah. So the year's been crazy. I mean, this is something that we thought was going to be a wave similar to the sports betting wave we saw of legalization. Was once one state legalized, a bunch of other states legalized, and now we're on nearly a full U.S. map of sports betting states. Well, online casino has not done anything remotely like that. We had a few states that went online with online casino right away. New Jersey, Pennsylvania, here in Michigan. And elsewhere, it's just been slow. There's been a lot of hesitancy to say, okay, let's go ahead and put slots in people's pockets so they can play it on the couch or on the bus or wherever they want to play. You get a lot of, you're getting a lot of pushback now too from casinos, in-person brick and mortar casinos saying, hey, that's going to take jobs away from people. It's going to take revenue from our physical locations. It's not good. So anyway, on top of a ton of headwinds that we've seen pick up because of the sports betting boom and kind of negative fallout from that. So you've got a lot of headwinds. Not a lot of states have been seeing a lot of action for online casino legislation. In Maine, we had a bill introduced last year. It didn't gain very much traction. Reintroduced again this year, was tabled early in the session. Figured that was dead, just like we saw in a couple other states this year. And then all of a sudden, early in June, it kind of blossomed and took off, made it to the appropriations table, which we talked about on the show. And in Maine, every bill that touches the revenue of the state and has a fiscal note has to be looked at by the appropriations table. Not many bills end up making it off of that table. I think it's something like 20% or so. 300 made it to the table this year. And they sent more than normal, including the online casino bill, on to the governor. I think it was 116. That's 40%, I think, if I'm doing my math correctly. So we figured, all right, well, Janet Mills, she's not exactly pro-gambling. She did go ahead and sign the online sports betting situation in Maine a couple of years ago. That's live, of course. However, her administration and the Maine Gaming Control Unit and the Maine Gaming Control Board all testified against the online casino bill. And so we figured, okay, there's a chance she signs it into law just because the legislature said yes, but she also might not. Well, it comes out last week that she did indeed go ahead and not sign it. She's going to wait till the legislature comes back into session next year and maybe veto it, maybe give them a chance to overturn it if they want, but I don't think the votes are there. So it is a really interesting situation when it comes to online casino in Maine, because you've got the legislator saying, hey, let's do it. And you've got the governor saying, I don't know, I don't think we should do it, and testifying it against it during the process. Of note, it would likely be a similar situation to online sports betting, where you have 3 of the 4 tribes partnered with Caesars and another tribe partnered with DraftKings. And so it is a very small market population-wise, and also a very small market in terms of operators. But again, online casino expansion in the U.S. is extremely slow, a lot slower than I think we all would have thought, 5 years ago as sports betting took off. But you're going to start to see, I think, next year, a few more states kind of trickle into this. On top of Maine, you had Illinois kind of talk about it. Governor J.B. Pritzker pitched it as an idea to help cut down the budget deficit. Of course, we've got a weird tax fallout there. Maryland had some discussion. Again, a couple other states are near it, I think, but Maine is the closest one, but we'll see. We'll have to wait and see what Governor Mills does probably next year still.
All right, fair enough. Now, one of the hot topics for us last week on the show that I think that will become a very fascinating topic come tax time, Pat, is the ability to still essentially write off gambling losses at the end of the calendar year. I know that state legislature differ in opinion. I know that the President of the United States essentially had a new bill that eliminated the idea that you could write off 100% of your gambling losses, only 90% instead of 10. The state of New York wants you to be able to write off none of your gambling losses. Now there's another state senator that is trying to go against all of this and say you should be able to write it all off again. I mean, how is this all happening at once?
Yeah, so what happened is since I think it's 34 in the U.S. Revenue Act back in the 30s, they made it so you could write off 100% of your gambling losses, and it's made it pretty easy, or better, I guess, more plausible that you can be a professional gambler and make a living and be okay. Well, somehow in President Trump's big, beautiful bill that we, watched carefully over the last couple of months, as that was passed through the system, somebody in a Senate committee said, you know what, this seems like a great way to make a little bit of extra money, and dropped that 100% deduction down to 90%. So what that means ultimately is, okay, say you gamble and you win $100,000. Great, that's fantastic. Well, say you lose $100,000 too. Well, you're breaking even. That's, all right, fine, whatever. Mm-hmm. But then you go to do your taxes, and well, now you can only deduct 90% of those losses. So they're taxing you on $10,000 of winnings. Mm-hmm. You didn't actually win anything. So that is where this kind of outrage comes from the gambling, world, rightfully so, I think. And then you get down to, there were some articles last week published by, national publications diving into this, talking to senators, and including GOP senators who voted for the bill and passed it. And they said, we didn't know that this gambling provision was in that. We didn't know it was this controversial. This is crazy. We wouldn't have done this. And now since then, we've had a bill come forth from Representative Dina Titus, who is from Nevada, a champion. We talk about her quite a bit. She's since 2014 championed trying to get rid of the excise tax, which is a 0.25 federal tax on all sports betting handle across the country. She's done that. She does a lot of other things in terms of trying to protect the Nevada gambling industry and the U.S. gambling industry. So she has led the charge in the House with the Fair Bet Act, which would it's actually a very simple bill. It crosses out the 90% and reinserts 100% of gambling losses in that one big, beautiful bill. And there was also a Nevada senator who introduced it on the Senate side. That bill did not gain traction last week and kind of fell short. But it does seem like there is plenty of support to get one of those bills, either the Senate bill back going or the Fair Bet Act going, and get that 100% deduction back in play come tax time. It is funny because, again, I said those are simple bills. They're just literally crossing out the 90 and reinserting 100. those acronym titles, Fair Bet Act, and I forget, it was also a good one in the Senate. It must have taken a lot of time to come up with those titles versus the actual language of the bill. But definitely something to watch, but I do think those will eventually get back into the tax code, and you'll see 100% deductions for gambling losses back in play.
I know that'll make a lot of sports gamblers happy too. All right, in Michigan, sports gamblers are trying to figure out what's going on with all of these offshore sports books. I know that they've put a cease and desist on many of them, and in the past, we've seen those adhere to those cease and desist. You think that that will continue here, Pat? With I believe the number is 19 different sports books.
I do, and I think you pointed out, how many of these are there out there? So many of these we haven't even heard of. But yeah, Michigan has been the leader in terms of cracking down on the offshore market. They started the last spring with Bovada setting off a huge amount of states sending cease and desist letters to that offshore giant. They've done many more. I think it was 40 before this one, which was their most sweeping, their quote, action yet. Which was 19 at one time. So I think they're up over 60 cease and desist letters sent to offshore, illegal, unregulated gambling sites, and just making sure that their residents, myself included, are betting on legal, regulated, safe sites.
Great stuff, Pat, as always. Thanks for coming on. We'll catch up later in the week. Thanks again.
Thanks, Craig. Talk to you soon.
Coming up next, first half of Major League Baseball is in the books. We'll take a look at the odds to win the World Series with Danny Burke from Odds Shopper. You're watching NewsWire on SportsGrid. We'll be right back.
You're going to have the suck uniforms the entire season, but 3 games will give you with the best uniform. Those are the issues I have. The powder blues out for the Chargers. That should be every game. The Miami Dolphins old uniforms that they throw it back to. That should be your uniform, not the trash you wear now. The Patriots. You ever see them throw back with a little football player in the helmet? It is beautiful. But let's keep the trash uniform.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Things you have to look at is what the team has the following day, especially when it comes to bullpen usage. A lot of the things I like to attack is you see these extra inning games, these games get drawn out, these bullpens get worn, or if someone gets shelled the first 3 innings and they got to go to the pen, early, that's a good spot to kind of hop in the middle of the next game. You got a tired bullpen, right? You try and take advantage there, maybe with an over, maybe with the money line. You're getting plus money on a favorite at that point.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Piece of an interesting couple of weeks in California, if you recall, just I think it was 2 weeks ago, language was inserted into a bill that would outlaw or ban sweepstakes casinos and sports betting, which of course we've seen lots of that happen this year. So California is an interesting market because, as you've said, there is no legal online casino, there is no legal online sports betting.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Like Montreal, has a new coach. I might be the new coach of Montreal in 2 weeks. They have a new coach all the time, and they always have, we're playing a new system. They have a bunch of 20-year-old players and kids on the pitch. Anyone that's good, they sell and they trade for money all the time. It's a real disaster, but they hit a new low tonight, getting eliminated by the Forge.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Danny Burke is with us from Odds Shopper to go over the latest in Major League Baseball. First half is complete. Any odds look good for the second half? Let's bring in Danny to discuss. Danny, thanks for coming back here on the show. It's great to catch up. So, here we are. The beginning of the season, certainly some surprises from where we're looking at the odds now. I don't think anybody would have had the Tigers with the best record in baseball, but here maybe I would have, but here they are, plus 750. The Dodgers plus 220. Cubs, definitely in the mix. And then the big mover, I think, on this board that we're looking at right here, actually 2 big movers, I want to say. Big mover number 1 has got to be the Brewers. They're 56-40 on the season, and the Blue Jays capping off the top 7. These are all odds to win the World Series. And look, having Skubal 3 times in a 7-game series, Danny, to me is why Detroit is up there. But is there a more valuable player to their team than Skubal is to Detroit right now? Hard to find one.
Yeah, I mean, no kidding. It seems like he's single-handedly just carrying this squad every single time he takes the bump. And it's one thing for how tremendous he was last year, Craig, but to replicate that and arguably even better in this first half of the season has been incredible. And being in the easier division in the AL Central that they are certainly benefits him and everybody else around him. And then the rest of the AL just kind of being a cluster as well. I mean, it's really propping up this Tigers team. And yes, rightfully so, they deserve to have the odds that are being attributed to them at this moment, because how could you deny that? Does that mean that I think it's worth taking a stab? No, not necessarily at the weakened price. And then also because of what's to come in that second half, which is probably a lot of the teams we had higher expectations for kind of working all of that out and regressing to the mean, or rather positive regression, maybe like a team like the Yankees or something in that realm. But yeah, I mean, again, tip the cap, all credits due to what the Tigers have done. They're going to make a run in this postseason. Probably not my favorite squad to pick, just because I still think they're lacking a little bit on the offensive side. And then also because I just don't really like the odds that are being dealt out right now. But again, it's not to knock anything about them, but when we're talking value, don't necessarily love it with them as I would with some other teams.
All right, so let's look at some of those other teams potentially here. Now, the Mets have fallen back to 13-1, but we know that they'll be very active here in a couple of weeks at the deadline. So will the Yankees at plus 750. Then you have a lot of teams that would just love to be in the mix. San Diego, Boston, Seattle. I know the Cardinals seem a little far-fetched to me. Same with the Reds here. But now that you see the full board here, Danny, has anything really changed for you the last few weeks? Do you still feel, or do you feel like any of these value picks still have a shot to win the World Series?
So I think the most important thing you noted, Craig, was the Yankees and them making moves, because we very well know their starting rotation would benefit greatly from getting some help in that regard. I mean, you don't really have to rely on Stroman too much. And then, you got some guys banged up here and there, and Rodon, as good as he is, he can be volatile from time to time. So I think the big question is, what moves are they going to make? And assuming they are, yeah, there's still a little bit of value there with this Yankees team. I mean, the Blue Jays are finally playing like the team that everybody's been pegging them to be for the past couple of years. They're getting a good starting rotation to perform for them. And that young offensive core that's now getting into their middle years and really hitting their prime, it's evident. So, I mean, that's not too crazy to see that coming alive. It's just a matter of who can get that next wild card spot, whether it's Toronto, whether it's the Yankees. Either way, both of those teams are primed to make a run. So I don't think you count out the Yankees, despite them being, a bit worrisome and just a bit all over the place. They'll be fine. Out in the National League, yeah, the Brewers are making a run right now. They always tend to do that, whether it's them or the Cardinals. And, look, I'm a Cubs guy. Do I think they're a World Series team? No, not necessarily. I think their ceiling realistically is winning one playoff series, because they haven't made any huge moves in that starting rotation, with Steele being injured and trying to get in a guy like Cade Horton to perform. It's just a lot of big it's for their arms. And I still think that's a big red flag for this team, unless they make some huge moves, which remains to be seen, because the front office kind of hasn't done that for the past several years. And I know it's different in season, but how much are they willing to invest? The answer should be a lot, because of the offensive product they put out there. But again, you just have to wait and see with this Cubs team. Outside of them in the National League, the Mets, a team that was incredibly hyped coming into the year, and I still have my reservations with their arms. I still love the Phillies. They were my top team. If you were looking for a different squad in the other direction to pivot away from the Dodgers, really love Philadelphia. And I think they even get a little bit more chip on their shoulder potentially, at least for the beginning stages of the second half, from, Suarez and Sanchez getting snubbed in that all-star debate. So I think that can carry them in the latter half of the season. It's still just absolutely love the offense that they put out on a consistent basis. So I think your best bang for the buck in the National League is still Philadelphia. It's not to say they're the better team from the Dodgers, but just a team that could give them the best run for their money. And speaking of the money, I mean, that's where you're getting the value still in the National League. I don't really think there's that many true contenders outside of the Phillies and Dodgers in the National League, despite it being competitive. When we're talking about realistic opportunity to win the World Series, those are clearly still the top two teams.
Now let's move over to the Home Run Derby tonight and take a look at the odds, Danny, and see if there's someone that you favor tonight to win this thing. Now, certainly Cal Raleigh is the one that everyone's going to have their eye on. He's leading the world in home runs. O'Neal Cruz did get an at-bat yesterday, so they're saying he's going to do the Derby tonight. I probably wouldn't take him, knowing that he's not 100%. It's kind of crazy that they're letting him do it, to be honest. James Wood, Byron Buxton's been hot. Matt Olson replaced Ronald Acuna Jr. Junior Caminero has been one of the hottest hitters over the last week, hitting home runs. And then you have Brent Rooker and Jazz Chisholm Jr., who's 14-1. A little bit of a surprise that they picked him for this event, indeed. But a lot of eyeballs will be on him, I'm sure. Who do you like tonight going into the Derby?
Yeah, that was a bit of a questionable addition with Chaz Chisholm, but I guess we'll see what he can put together tonight. I think you look at the home field advantage slightly with Matt Olson. It's not to say that these other guys are going to be at a disadvantage, but obviously the familiarity plays a factor, and you have the experience of participating in this event with Matt Olson. And then you look at those odds at 9-1. It's kind of hard to pass up here. So I certainly get the direction you're looking with Caminero at plus 950. Don't have any issue with that per se, but I'm going to go with Olson at 9-1. And Brent Rooker, the fact that we're getting him at double-digit odds would probably be my next choice. But yeah, I'm going to go with Olson here. I'm going to go with the home field guy here with Olson. And again, that little bit of experience participating in the Derby, I think can go a long way. Not only the ability to pull it, but he can also get it out of the park in terms of the other directions, which I think is going to add a nice piece to his repertoire tonight. So I like him at 9-1.
All right. Thanks, Danny, for coming on. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely, Craig.
As Danny mentioned, I'll take Junior Caminero at 9.5-1. Frank has James Wood, Luke has Brent Rooker, and Anthony's taking O'Neal Cruz tonight. We'll be back to wrap it up next here on NewsWire.
You're going to have the suck uniforms the entire season, but 3 games will give you with the best uniform. Those are the issues I have. The powder blues out for the Chargers. That should be every game. The Miami Dolphins old uniforms that they throw it back to. That should be your uniform, not the trash you wear now. The Patriots. You ever see them throw back with a little football player in the helmet? It is beautiful. But let's keep the trash uniform.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Things you have to look at is what the team has the following day, especially when it comes to bullpen usage. You know, a lot of the things I like to attack is you see these extra inning games, these games get thrown out, these bullpens get worn, or if someone gets shelled the first 3 innings and they got to go to the pen, early, that's a good spot to kind of hop in the middle of the next game. You got a tired bullpen, right? You try and take advantage there, maybe with an over, maybe with a money line. You're getting plus money on a favorite at that point.
In-game live, only on SportsGrid.
Piece of an interesting couple of weeks in California. If you recall, I think it was 2 weeks ago, language was inserted into a bill that would outlaw or ban sweepstakes casinos and sports betting, which of course we've seen lots of that happen this year. So California is an interesting market because, as you've said, there is no legal online casino. There is no legal online sports betting.
NewsWire, only on SportsGrid.
Like Montreal, has a new coach. Like I might be the new coach of Montreal in 2 weeks. Like they have a new coach all the time, and they always have, we're playing a new system. They're like, they have a bunch of 20-year-old players and kids on the pitch. Anyone that's good, they sell and they trade for money all the time. Like it's a real disaster. But they hit a new low tonight, getting eliminated by the Forge.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. I'm Craig Mish. Imagine walking into your favorite casino in Las Vegas and seeing one of your favorite card games being available to gamble on. Okay, fair enough. Also, corks were popping at Wimbledon, as we saw on the court. And also, a rookie makes an all-star game after pitching just 5 games. Sure you heard that story before. Time now for some last licks. I mean, this had to be the biggest story of the weekend. I was trying to find a way we could do this at the beginning of the show, but I'm glad we saved it for the end. So everybody at one time in their life has probably played the trading or the card game Uno. And a big announcement was made over the weekend that Uno is now going to be available at Las Vegas casinos. You can sit down and play Uno against your buddies or against people who are not your buddies and take their money. Now, that's kind of wild if you think about it, and also a fantastic idea because, again, any novelty or sort of gimmick kind of thing will bring people to a casino that they've never played before. I have to say that this is one of those favorite games that I had playing, and my kids have played the game too. Now, how much money can you win playing Uno? I guess there's a buy-in at that point. It's kind of similar to poker, and whoever ends up winning the game ends up winning the big pot at the end. So for those of you who are Uno enthusiasts, head on over to Vegas, get yourself a nice little hotel room, and play Uno to your heart's desire. But I would say save those big cards for the end. That was always my advice, too. All right, at Wimbledon this weekend, Carlos Alcaraz taking on Yannick Sinner. That was the rematch that we wanted to see from the French Open. Earlier in the week, we had heard the announcers at Wimbledon Stadium saying to be careful of opening your bottles of champagne and making sure the cork did not fly on the court. I thought that was a little weird to hear that during the week, but then on Sunday, it ended up happening. Somebody popped a bottle of champagne, and the cork flew onto the court and went very close to Carlos Alcaraz. In fact, so close to the point where Alcaraz stopped the match. One of the I think it was a girl at this point, went over, picked up the cork, and got rid of it. Champagne corks flying on tennis courts. Man, you cannot make this stuff up. And we're not making it up either. You can actually watch the video and see. Kind of hard because it was really small, but you can see the girl pick up the cork and get rid of it. Kind of crazy to think. Now, I understand everyone likes to have their bottle of wine or their bottle of champagne, but that seems like a cork that's got to fly pretty far, right? Could be dangerous. Somebody could get hit in the ear or the eye. All right, finally, we wrap it up with the All-Star Game, which will be played tomorrow night in Atlanta, Georgia. And over the weekend, we had some unprecedented news break. That is Jacob Misiorowski of the Milwaukee Brewers, who's made 5 starts, folks, 5 games in his life in Major League Baseball, was named to the All-Star team. And the Philadelphia Phillies were kind of upset about this because you have players on their team who felt like their pitchers deserved to get the call. And that, of course, is Christopher Sanchez and also Ranger Suarez. Trey Turner said it's a joke. JT Realmuto said nothing against Misiorowski, but Sanchez and Suarez are deserving. And Nick Castellanos had the best quote of all, said it's turning into the Savannah Bananas. Now, the good news here is that Sanchez, who absolutely would have been a pick to be a replacement, is going to end up getting his $50,000 bonus, apparently, from the Philadelphia Phillies. Anybody who pitches on Sunday is not eligible to be a replacement for the All-Star game because you can't pitch. So that's why that happened. Makes me feel a little bit better about that, but I would have to say this. 5 games. I mean, this ain't Paul Skeens pitching for a month and a half. 5 games pitched in Major League Baseball seems to be a little bit far-fetched to make an All-Star team. Now, I understand a lot of people are going to want to see this kid pitch, and I get it. But how many extra people are tuning into the All-Star game on Tuesday night to see Jacob Misiorowski pitch of the Milwaukee Brewers? Not your average fan, I don't think. You're also taking away bonuses from a lot of kids who did not make the All-Star game this year. I got to tell you, this is a little bit ambitious for me. And I'm all for trying new things, wild cards, ABS systems, all kinds of innovations, pitch clocks. I'm always for this stuff. Got to make sure we're rewarding the right people to play in the All-Star game. Not sure that they did that this year. That'll do it for the show today. Thanks again to Pat Evans from Legal Sports Report and Danny Burke and Bill Bender for all coming on the show and doing a great job as guests. We got Pharrell Coast to Coast, 3 o'clock Eastern. I'll be on that show later today talking Home Run Derby, front office sports, game time decisions, in-game live game day. And then Gabe, who, if you followed on social media, you saw that he got married over the weekend. Is he on his honeymoon right now? I would assume. So Gabe can't be in tonight. Can he? Is that possible? Is Gabe live from his honeymoon on SportsGrid tonight? Thanks to Luke and Frank. I'm Craig. See you back here tomorrow for our next edition of NewsWire. See you then.